Magnus up to his old tricks in White NZ. After a rough start, looks like he just might win Tata Steel. Kasparov has strong words regarding Elon Musk's theory on how the end of the world will come. Are you surprised that Hikaru was able to take down the entire Chess.com team? Maybe not. Speaking of Nakamura, he's getting set to start in Gibraltar along with Maria Musichuk and other strong players. It's ChessCenter. It's right where you need to be, but we don't have much time. Let's go. Well, Sean, I may be more surprised than others that Hikaru Nakamura was able to tear through our team at our last meetup in November of 2015. But were you surprised by Hikaru's performance?
Oh, of course I was shocked. I even played an illegal move, and it didn't get me anything.
You did everything you could, buddy. In fact, yeah, I wasn't planning on rubbing your face in that, but let's check out what happened in this clip and see how things went down between Sean and Hikaru. It looked like a little bit of a French, right? I liked what you were doing. I don't even know. What were you doing?
Well, I thought that maybe he wouldn't beat a cripple, and I hurt my leg earlier, so I thought the crutches would just make it easy on me.
Well, I was sure that making an illegal move might be enough to win, but apparently it wasn't.
I need more than that.
Well, we salute Hikaru Nakamura for taking down the entire team as easily as he did, although he was stopped by one man. But I don't spoil movies. I don't spoil the fun for people. They're going to have to check out the video and see what happened in the end, as one guy crept in and took advantage of a very tired Hikaru Nakamura. Well, Robert, this week we launch a new feature on ChessCenter, Upset of the Week. Maybe not something we'll be able to feature every week, but whenever we have these big open tournaments going on, like the Qatar Masters Open, where we saw Magnus Carlsen draw Batsiashvili in the first round, and just coming across our desk a few minutes ago, we saw Vishy Anand give up a draw to a roughly 2,300 FIDE player in the first round of the Tradewise Gibraltar Chess Festival. Robert, take everybody through what you think Vishy maybe could have played here that would have given him more winning chances, and talk to us a little bit about this upset.
Absolutely, Danny. Vish is clearly rusty in the open format. He hasn't played in an open tournament in over 20 years. And here he may move bishop to d3, which is a natural move. It, secures equality, slightly better for white. But perhaps Vishy should have went with rook takes a8, forcing black to take on a8 with the bishop, and then tried bishop a6. The idea is it allows the b pawn to run a little faster. It creates some difficulties with the light square bishop on a8, and it just gives him a little bit better winning chances. But give credit to Svidoniya Vajda. She played an excellent game. She's a strong international master. Also the sister of the Romanian grandmaster Vajda, so that name sounds familiar. It's in the family.
Right, well, she certainly played well enough to draw, not taking anything away, just highlighting one more moment where we thought Vishy had chances for tension. But let's show exactly how good her defensive technique was very quickly. After bishop d3, she forced a favorable trade, not taking to give the a-pawn. And what Vishy learned is they're enough in this endgame. He did his best to activate the king and even tried to simplify into the same color bishop ending, which you would think, with a pawn stuck to a light square, might offer winning chances. But no, a few more moves showed that Vajda was not going to crack. They simplified even further with the d and b pawn coming off, and as Vajda showed, this king would not have an easy road into the king's side. Vishy threw in the towel, congratulated his opponent with a draw, but with it got our upset of the week.
Well, thank you, Danny. A big week in featured news. We have two major events going on, one in Invitational, one in Open. Let's first start with the Invitational as it is closer to wrapping up the Tata Steel tournament. Peter Doggers, tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, well, it's looking really like a Magnus Carlsen tournament so far. He had a bit of a slow start, as you saw last week, and then he suddenly started winning 3 games in a row. For example, Tomaszewski, especially, he beat very quickly and very smooth. He had a pretty good game as black against Alyanov, and his first win was against Luke van Wey. A bit lucky, but the winner's luck maybe, and with two draws against Karyakin and Giri, he's now half a point ahead of Fabiano Caruana.
Yeah, there's 14 players there and over 10 rounds. There's simply too much to talk about on ChessCenter. Make sure you go to chess.com/news for our daily reports there. Of course, there's also a Challengers tournament. Who's leading there?
Well, that's the Indian Grandmaster Bhaskaran Adhiban, and he's definitely a big favorite now because he has already beaten 2 of his main rivals just when they were close to him or even equal first. he completely crushed Alexei Dreyev, for example, in the Semislav Dreyev specialty. And today Atiban defeated Azeri Grandmaster Altai Safarli. So half a point ahead of the pack, and the clear favorite now to win this tournament and promote to next year's Masters tournament.
That's exactly right. If he does win, he gets the automatic ticket as per convention, and our fans will learn a lot more about him if that happens in 2017. Now, this tournament, the Tata Steel tournament, no longer just stays in Vaikanze. They tend to rotate all around your home country. Tell us a little bit about the unique settings going on.
Yeah, they're doing this for the third year, and it's a really nice idea. This year, 2 rounds were elsewhere. The first round last week, it was not the first round of the tournament, but the first time they moved was they moved to Amsterdam. They played in the Nemo Science Center. It was very nice. And today they actually played in the Railway Museum in Utrecht. And maybe because of that, but also because legendary Grandmaster Jan Timman was giving commentary. More than 5,000 spectators showed up, actually, a very big number for chess, so that's great.
Yeah, I'm sure the players like getting away from the North Sea for a couple of days. And closer to home, we are here live producing the show at the Tradewise Gibraltar Chess Festival, the 14th edition, and we're only 2 rounds in, but Peter, what are the highlights so far?
Yeah, well, one highlight is, not actually a highlight for the player himself. Vishy Anand, he started his first open tournament in 23 years with a draw against the IM of Hungary, Sidonia Vajda Levante. And it's an amazing result for her, of course. And Anand is basically copying Magnus Carlsen, who started with a draw in Qatar last month. And Vladimir Kramnik also started with 2 draws last year in Qatar. So the 3rd world champion who cannot win his first game in an open.
Yeah, and the upset that took place in round 1 here with Anand was actually about 100 rating points greater than Carlsen's draw in Qatar. Well, we're only 2 rounds in here, but we've got a lot of chess both here and in the Netherlands. I'm sure we're going to be wrapping up all the action next week on ChessCenter. Tune in to chess.com/news to read the daily reports, and also go to chess.com/TV the next 8 days to see the final rounds here in Gibraltar. Back to you, Danny.
Well, Robert, he is the best chess player in the world and reigning world champion. Maybe we should give him the move of the week from time to time too, huh? Well, Magnus Carlsen finally played a game that was worthy in our eyes of the honor against Tomaszewski from the Tata Steel chess tournament. Here he played the move f4, which makes a ton of sense. Not our move of the week yet, folks. He's just trying to open up lines toward the king side. And after g takes f4, I, like many others, expected Magnus to take back the pawn and build the attack slowly. But Carlsen had other, much more aggressive ideas in mind. Robert, why don't you tell everybody what that was?
Well, Danny, he didn't want to go e takes f4 here because he probably feared c takes d4 by Tomaszewski. C takes d4, he has to play, then rook c8, using the open c file to his advantage. So black is there first. So instead of e takes f4, Carlsen played the very amazing move, rook f1. And the idea is pretty crazy. If f takes e3 here, Carlsen would throw in the stunning move, rook takes f6, a complete shocker. If g takes f6, queen g4 check, king to either h7 or h8, doesn't particularly matter, and rook f1. And it looks like you're just attacking a pawn, but no, it's leading to Mateville, USA. If you take on d2, well, rook takes f6, and that black king is not very happy. So unfortunately for Tomaszewski, he was unable to take on e3, and that made him retreat instead of attacking, and after that, Carlsen ground him down pretty simply.
Yeah, reviewed very efficiently, partner, and it just looks like Carlsen sensed the F-file had a lot more potential than Tomaszewski did in his defensive plan. So Tomaszewski did finally realize it, played knight to d7, smelt a rat, but it was still enough for Carlsen to use that momentum, queen h5, pinning the f4 pawn because of threats on f7. And after some natural moves, though it didn't end with as many fireworks, the simplification Tomaszewski was forced to take led to a much worse ending. I could say much one more time if you want me to, but after taking and getting the 7th rank, it was all a matter of technique, as they say in Mother Russia, and Magnus flexing his muscles again in the Tata Steel chess tournament after a slightly slow start. He's on a roll, and this was one of the games that propelled him to the results we've seen so far. Well, Sean, our weekly social buzz comes to us once again courtesy of the one and only Garry Kasparov, who this week made comments in an interview that maybe strongly disagreed with the theories of Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk regarding the potential of AI to take over, enslave, and maybe even supersede mankind as far as their evolution. Obviously, we know it's a hot debate, and we can get into the theories of Asimov to just about anything else, but what do you think about Kasparov's right to even make these kind of statements and give opinions, sticking his nose in the arena with such huge technological heavyweights?
Oh, I think he's incredibly qualified. I mean, this is a guy who was at the top of our sport in chess, and he was playing against computers as they came up. So I think he's the guy who's actually been fighting for dominance with a machine. So I think he has every right to come down on the subject one way or the other. But I don't know if he's used Siri lately, because Siri is scary.
Well, not only that, he obviously doesn't watch Marvel's Avengers, because doesn't Jarvis figure things out at some point for everybody? I don't know. I'm not trying to go, I don't want to go Age of Ultron on you here, hashtag boring sequel, but I will say that you may be right. Maybe he does have some unique qualifications. He was on the front line battling AI on behalf of mankind for years, although wasn't he also the one who lost to a computer years before he predicted he would?
Yes, and that's why I'm happy that his prediction here is never rather than not in 100 years.
That's right. Well, let's hope he's right. Either way, people should give their thoughts in the comments here at ChessCenter, because it's always a fun debate, man versus machine, and we look forward to more opinions from Kasparov, because he gives us great material in social channel chatter. Well, we thank Mike Klein for rejoining us in other news, as he and Peter already brought us all the updates from Tata Steel Chess and the Tradewise Gibraltar Chess Festival in featured news. Mike, what are some of the other chess stories facing the world this week?
Well, Danny, anybody who was on social media this week knows that one story dominated all others. Apparently, a Saudi Arabian cleric said that chess is forbidden under the rules of Islam for two reasons. Number one, that it's a form of gambling, and number two, that it promotes some sort of hatred between the players. Now, perhaps you can't argue with that second one, but in any case, we're not really sure how old this recording is. It swept all over mainstream media, The Guardian, The New York Times. However, a statement was released by the Saudi Arabian Chess Federation promising that they're in good standing with FIDE, they still plan on hosting local events, and that they will be at the 2016 Olympiad in Baku. So it sounds a little bit like one man versus the official line, and the official line is that chess is just fine in Saudi Arabia.
Well, that's good news as far as I'm concerned. We would hate to see that country no longer competing in major international events. Speaking of statements released, what would you release as a statement if you were a dad who sponsored a tournament just for your son to play stronger players who you knew were way out of his league? Mike, what are the details on this Chinggis Invitational?
Well, this happened. We have a player that's kind of near and dear to our hearts because he's played in the Chess Kid Invitational a few times. Chinggis Invitational, or Chinggis Bay Area, as we like to call him, had a tournament organized where he's about a 1,700 player, and he played against 9 titled players. 7 of them were GMs, 2 of them were IMs, in a 9-round round robin, and his dad's chess club sponsored the event. I don't think I've ever heard of this before. Now, as you might guess, he didn't do so well. He didn't get on the scoreboard. However, those 2 IMs, they were still eligible for a GM norm, because Rule 1.46b says that in a Grandmaster norm-seeking tournament, his rating actually counts as 2,200. So that technicality still made it a real-life tournament. In any case, a Grandmaster, in fact, the top seed won the event. Sam Shanklin, 7 out of 9, didn't have any losses on his scorecard, and a great rebound. Remember that he had to leave the Qatar tournament early out of illness, so he's back on home soil in Northern California winning tournaments again. So a couple of neat stories there.
Good stuff, yeah. The final question I have to ask before I let you go, I read your monthly other news segment where you publish on chess.com/news all these different stories going around. And is Paul Keres the most celebrated chess player of all time?
First of all, Danny, thank you for being my one reader of that article. Put a lot of time into it. I think this question, Danny, is going to be debated by our viewers. I invite them to leave a comment below the video, let them know what they think. I'm going to argue, yes, that Paul Keres is the most nationally celebrated player of all time. Here's my reasoning. He was on the 5 Croonie note back when Estonia was on the Croonie, back in 2011. He's now on a €2 coin circulating all over Europe. And also he's on a stamp, so you can actually mail a letter to your friend and pay for it with the guy's picture who you just mailed the letter from. That's a lot of ammunition there suggesting that Keres probably is the most celebrated national player ever. But if I'm wrong, state your case below.
Wow. Well, maybe good luck if you're playing correspondence chess and you stamp a letter with a little picture of Paul Keres. But Mike, either way, we thank you for joining us in other news, and we will see you in time trouble.
You're so money, Danny.
Well, Robert, apparently Van Welle was also tired of Magnus Carlsen not being featured on ChessCenter, so he obliged him by being the recipient of his blunder for Blunder of the Week. In this position, Lok Van Welle, who is a regular featured Netherlands homegrown grandmaster in the Tata Steel chess event, he was just much better. He played Queen H6 check, and we thought that this game might continue to go White's direction. A nearly 2.5 point advantage according to the engines. Obvious moves like Queen H4 check, just keeping the initiative going would have been much better. But Van Welle instead panicked here. Tell everybody the first blunder he made that ultimately led us to a much bigger blunder in Carlsen's favor.
Absolutely did. And he made the move Rook C3 here. He panicked a bit, went on the defensive, but now the tides have turned. It allowed Magnus all of a sudden to seize the initiative, and his king becomes a lot safer while White's gets in trouble. And as we see here through the moves, Black is just protecting everything. White is moving backwards very frequently. And finally, in the position, ensuing position after Rook G1, Bishop to F1, and King to G8, Lok felt he was out of moves. Knight G2 keeps the game alive. Granted, after Queen takes E4 check, the endgame is significantly worse for White. But instead of Knight G2, went Knight E2, which is a horrendous blunder because of Rook takes F1 check. The king has to take on F1, and after Rook D1 check, King G2, Bishop takes E4. The White queen is lost. The game is over. Magnus Carlsen receives a great blunder by Lok Van Welle, giving him his first win of a 3-game win streak.
Yeah, and given where the tournament is at now, maybe the game that will ultimately be seen as a huge turning point for Carlsen. It's interesting, right? It's hard to judge somebody when they play a move like Rook to C3, a defensive move against Magnus Carlsen, but definitely knowing that Van Welle had better chances if he had instead kept the initiative going, it could really be seen as a big turning point even before the Knight E2 blunder. But thanks for taking us through that, partner. We give Van Welle the blunder of the week, and Magnus Carlsen got featured in both games in this week's Chess Center. Well, as we look ahead this week, Sean, we once again don't have to look very far. The Gibraltar Chess Festival, the Tradewise Gibraltar Chess Festival, has just kicked off. And in fact, we've already seen some early upsets in the beginning rounds. Vishy Anand, the former world champion, being taken down, giving up a big draw, much like Carlsen did in the first round of the Qatar Masters Open, drawing Bastiashvili. And it's something we see in these open events, really exciting matchups where 23, 24, 2500s get to play a 2800, and you get these huge rating disparities. Sean, on that note of the exciting format and because of the risky style of play sometimes needed to win these events, who do you look at as the favorite amongst these players here, both young and old, the list of top players in this event?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Hikaru Nakamura and Richard Rapport's style is peculiarly well suited for this type of environment. Hikaru is super aggressive, and if a player is just a little bit under his level, he can really be overwhelming. And Richard Rapport is just going to come at you from angles you did not expect, and his unpredictability similarly gives him wins in that category. So I look for both of these guys to score very well at this kind of open.
Yeah, you make compelling arguments for both, honestly. I think that MVL and Anand, despite the first round draw, will also be right there in the end. But, that aggressive style, I think, does play well here as we scroll down. Don't forget Wojtaszek, Anand's second, who, along with his wife, performed some awesome events at the opening ceremony, including simul's and lectures. And but I got to agree with you as far as predicting the event that this is definitely Hikaru Nakamura's event to win or lose. If he's playing well, he has as much experience in Swiss open events playing lower players as any player of his caliber on the planet. So I look for him to take this event and roll into the candidates in March with some confidence. But we have to ask the viewers as well, Sean, who they think might take this one home. Even though we know Hikaru will be a fan favorite, take your guess at maybe somebody else that might be a dark horse to win this event.
I think Li Chao has got a good chance to do very well here. We saw him do very well in the Millionaire Open, and I expect him to perform well here as well. And then you can never turn your back on Yu Yangyi.
Again, good dark horses as well. Sean, I feel like your predicting skills are getting better. Have you been playing with your binoculars?
It's not my binoculars, it's the hot tub time machine.
Well, before we let him go back to all the work on site in Gibraltar, we bring Mike in for the final segment that ends Chess Center. Mike, are you ready for the showdown?
I'm ready, and I've got dibs. Danny, in another news article, I showed 2 Russian chess players playing in a freezing lake. But what's the craziest place that you've ever played?
That's not really PG information, Mike. Moving on, Kasparov recently referred to Vladimir Putin as Don Corleone in his new book. If Putin's Don Corleone, who does that make Kasparov?
It's a good question. I'm going to stick with the 70s movie theme and say Frank Serpico, uncovering corruption around every bend. Next up, Danny, the Chess Bras are going to play for 24 hours straight on January 29th. Are you excited about something like this?
You got to be excited about it. Even though it's not a world record for consecutive hours playing chess, I don't think anybody's ever played that long while doing chess commentary, so it should be a lot of fun for the fans. Now, do you think Ding Liren and Wei Yi took it easy on each other in their game and Tata Steel with that quick, exciting draw?
Yeah, probably. In another word, yes. Did you see the news report? They agreed to a draw in a crazy position. You send him to the bar, you give him some rice wine, you make him finish the game. Question for you, Danny. Is Navarre the new Morozevich, a brilliancy followed by an inconsistent game?
Well, I think he's too young to give him that label just yet. I don't even know that it would be an insult. Morozevich was creative and brilliant all the time in his games, but Navarre has shown inconsistency. After doing amazing things, plays a game that's not that great. It's a little bit concerning. Now, Magnus Carlsen had a video where he took his fans through the year 2015, recapping what he thought in the end was a pretty good year. What do you think he would have to say to fans who didn't think it was a great year?
Well, as he told me in Qatar, if you didn't think 2015 was a good year for him, it's because you hold him to a higher standard, and he takes that as a badge of honor.
Well, I guess it's a nice way to look at it, right? Whatever helps you sleep at night. And Mike, whatever helps you sleep tonight, we recommend you do it because you are done with ChessCenter, buddy. Get back to work in Gibraltar.
The Berlin helps me sleep. Thanks, Danny.